In 1963, the computer was in its early stages of being something that would completely change the world. They were giant contraptions like baby U-Haul trailers. Well, there was a big unity dance among all 5 San Antonio colleges and universities, and 2,300 of us students went downtown, and this was to be the very first ever computer dating event. The computer was going to match us up according to a very extensive questionnaire with the most perfect person for each one of us. You might see where this is going. They called me to the stage, announced my match, and here came the very same middle-aged woman who had been the model in my Trinity art class. Remember, I was like 19, and a middle-aged woman was very, very old. Before I blacked out, I remember saying something to her. I remember saying something to her like, gosh, I've never seen you with your clothes on before. So that was my very liberal arts education at Trinity. Other than that, of course, it was all study all the time and working in student government, which taught me so much. We accomplished many things that I thought made a difference, and I was always encouraged by the visionary legend who guided, dreamed, and created the new Trinity, Dr. James Laurie. He was a giant, and he made big dreams come true and encouraged us to do so too. Academic Dean Bruce Thomas, and especially history professor Don Everett, truly had a lasting impact on my life. And the Reverend Raymond Judd and Russ Gossage and Dean Grissom and Elizabeth Ridenhour all made me feel 10 feet tall, and to me, they were. Trinity gave me such a strong foundation that has served me so well. To show you how exciting your future can be, as I sat where you are today, I never could have imagined all the places I would go and all the wonderful things that would happen in my life. And amazing surprises will happen to you too, if you look for opportunities and if you keep yourself open to possibilities. After almost 7 decades of life experiences and observations, I am thoroughly convinced that you Trinity grads here today can do anything in this world if you want to do it badly enough. I was asked to give you just a few highs and lows from my time in New York media as an example of how your life can just open in front of you and how you can go from mountaintop to valley low and hopefully back up again. I never imagined I would get to know some of my heroes. I'm going to take one sip because I took an allergy pill. There's all these trees exploding from these roots. And it's so green here. Oh, it had my name on it. I thought I stole the president's water. So here was a big high for me. One day, an amazing, inspirational woman named Jackie Kennedy called me for lunch, and we became best friends. She was in publishing too, and she had edited 100 books. She was a phenomenal human being, and few knew her well, and I did. And what a great privilege it has been to work closely with the Robert F. Kennedy family, his amazing wife Ethel, and their amazing daughter Carrie, on their inspirational work to help suffering people all over the world. But then there were frightening moments too. I could never have imagined that the mafia would throw bricks through my apartment window at 3 a.m. after I published a cover story in New York Magazine that seemed to make The Godfather unhappy. But there were many more good memories that made it all worthwhile for me. At New West, we won the National Magazine Award, the Oscar in the business, for reporting that 40 innocent people had died in individual car wrecks, and we figured out that they each one had Firestone radial tires in common. This led to the largest consumer recall in American history, 15 million tires, and saved countless lives. There's a lot of junk in journalism today, but this was the kind of public service I always hoped journalism would be about. And how, thank you. I wish it were that way all the time. And how inspired I am still by telling this story. Walking on a deserted beach to get some badly needed rest at one of the hardest times in my life, when our dad was ill, I came upon the only person around who was an old man sitting on a rock. And I spoke to him of my sorrow and he gave me strength and wisdom and peace. This old man turned out to be a giant named the Reverend Billy Graham. It was like meeting one of the original disciples. And he loved to come to Trinity. He said he would do crusades in San Antonio, and he wanted to come and walk through this campus every day for peace. And then the inevitable dark memories from my past, so that you don't think I've had this golden life. In 1979, I learned to appreciate every minute of my life and not to think that it was going to last forever, because I've survived a 12-hour airline hijacking by the only remaining member of the James Jones suicide cult of more than 900 that had died by drinking poisoned Kool-Aid. Months before at New West, we had exposed their corruption to the light of day, and they had fled this country. And that made me enemy number one, with constant death threats. Isn't journalism fun? And how fast things can change, too, at the same time. The bad day I was fired by the toughest boss in the world, the very delightful Mr. Rupert Murdoch, who seems to be being held accountable at last. That night, a man I had... If he is, the standards in journalism will improve all over the world. That night, after having this huge blow, a man I had never met named Frank Sinatra calls out of the blue and wants to take me to dinner to celebrate, saying, "Kid, you fired the SOB." And recently, how could I have ever imagined the profound joy and sense of peace I would experience this last winter in Jerusalem? I was a night and day volunteer at the holy site Protestants believe to be the place of Christ's burial and resurrection, which is the sustaining foundation of my faith. I witnessed deeply moving moments there. So graduates, I'm here to tell you, you can have the life you want if you're open to it, if you lead your life with purpose, and if you embrace the opportunities that come your way with passion and enthusiasm. As a graduation present from me to you, here in no special order is my top 10 list of hard-learned lessons. Lesson number 1, sit up straight and use sunscreen. No. Well, yes, but my big number 1 is live your life so you don't have regrets later. A young person can lie in bed and dream. An older person lies in bed with his or her conscience, worrying about the things that may be too late to change. Number 2, my beloved mother and my wonderful sisters taught me that faith is essential to achieve security, well-being, and purpose. It can fill the moments of emptiness we all go through and give you strength and meaning and hope. I didn't know this when I sat where you graduates sit today, but I do now. And for me, it's the best possible safety net. Know the Bible. It's an essential roadmap for life. Even if you start with a tiny mustard seed of faith, there are timeless lessons. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Make time for it. Number 3, keep friends and family close. Hold them dear and cherish them as if your life depends on it, because I'm here to tell you it does. Number 4, find your passion and pursue it. If you are not happy or fulfilled or don't know what you want to do, then keep exploring. Don't settle. There's always a better opportunity. Number 5, hard work creates luck. And I believe you can make luck happen for yourself. One of my rules in business was no job too little, no job too big. Don't ever be afraid to get your hands dirty. 6, don't do it for the money. And don't worship money, because one day you will find out that money and material possessions will never make you happy. I profoundly believe that happiness comes from collecting people and friends, not things. And here's number 7, stand for something. Find meaning and purpose for yourself and give of yourself. Don't always put yourself first. We do not need another me generation. Too much emphasis, I think, is placed on what you want to do in life. But I've learned that what you do is not as important as what you become as a human being. You've all heard the truism, or certainly will later, that no one on their deathbed ever said, "I wished I'd spent more time at the office." My wonderful sister Marilyn gave me a book years ago called Halftime that said, if you spend the first half of your life pursuing success, you still have an opportunity to devote the second half to significance. That message was the encouragement I needed to find a deeper meaning within myself. And that's how I decided to live my life. and I'm mighty happy. Remember, have no regrets. Lesson 8, we never stop learning. Travel allows you to continue your education and expand it. So if you're debating someday whether to buy more electronics or take a trip, take the trip. Lesson number 9, happiness is a choice and you have to work at it. Finally, Joe Armstrong, lesson 10, failure teaches you more than success, unfortunately. I learned this the hard way, but you will be so much better prepared for setbacks if you learn how to handle disappointments and if you learn from them. I believe failure is sometimes God's way of telling you you're going in the wrong direction. I had enormous success until about age 38, and I hit a brick wall, right in the middle of the media spotlight. Despite all the journalistic stories that we had done that made a difference, I could not morally do all the things the toughest boss in the world demanded. But I had married my jobs, and I didn't have a good safety net. With almost a decade of 16, 17-hour workdays, and without a healthy balance in my life, I had some very rough times. But with faith, family, and friends, I rebuilt my life, and so much stronger. I really want you to learn from this. Nobody tells us in advance to prepare for setbacks or hard times, and when they inevitably arrive, it's a little late to begin building your safety net. So begin doing that now. And here's the balancing act. As I said, believe in yourself, but don't make life all about yourself. I'm going to ask you to make me 3 promises today. Promise me you will not waste your time living somebody else's life. Promise me you will not be trapped by dogma, which I translate as living with the results of other people's thinking. Promise me you will not let the noise of other people's opinions drive out your own inner voice. And promise me that you will try to find the courage and to follow your heart and your intuition, to find what you value, to find what you love. And promise me and yourself you will not settle until you do. So graduates, today is indeed the very beginning of the most meaningful and exciting years of your life. Are you ready? Are you ready, graduates, for the most exciting time? Louder! All right, more energy, please. All right, start your engines and promise us here today that you will stay connected to Trinity and that you will be able to help our school help others as you have been helped. And finally, let me just say one thing to you. Do not listen to anyone who tells you that the world today is harder or more complicated than it was before, or that you are going to have less opportunity because of economic challenges. My parents survived the end of World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, Pearl Harbor, the polio plague, the dropping of atomic bombs, and the head of the Soviet Union always saying, "We will bury you." My generation, we got to hold on to our dreams, even though we struggled with a war in Vietnam that tore this country apart. We had a youth culture that was a radical departure from our parents' values, and that tore many families apart. We survived not only the brink of nuclear war with the Cuban Missile Crisis and the assassination of our president while I was here at Trinity, but also the shocking assassination of a number of our greatest leaders. American cities were burned in race riots. We had endless civil rights murders, AIDS, a drug epidemic, Al-Qaeda, terrorism, and the Great Recession. And guess what? We did okay, and so will you. Don't worry too much about the outside world. Worry and concentrate about the world inside of you, your heart and your soul. That's something you can do something positive about and make it better every single day. To me, it's one of the great secrets of life. So class of 2012, I love meeting so many of you. It is totally obvious to me you have what it takes to set this world on fire. Go get them, because this is your time, and may God always be with you. Thank you.